The unseen threat, the stars above the rim border station, shone with a cold, distant beauty. Ships from every corner of the galaxy drifted through the traffic lanes, some carrying precious cargo, others bristling with weapons. But on this night, the crew on watch at the station could sense that something felt off. No one spoke of it, but a tension crackled in the recycled air. The commander of the station, Captain Hayes, paced quietly along the transparent viewing deck, hands clasped behind his back. His officers watched the scans, eyes darting from screen to screen. Ships passed in and out of the sector, their engine signatures logged and catalogued. Everything seemed routine. Yet every officer felt that odd chill on the back of their neck. Suddenly, the silence shattered. The long-range sensors began to beep softly at first, then louder, more urgent. On the main screen, a strange ripple appeared in the fabric of space. It was as if reality itself wavered for a moment. "Is that a cloaking field?" whispered one officer. Captain Hayes narrowed his eyes. "No, this is different." The ripple deepened, then exploded outward in silent pulsing waves. Out of that disturbance, a shape began to form a warship, but like nothing any of them had ever seen. Its hull shimmered like dark glass, but somehow seemed solid and immovable. The design was sleek and predatory, yet there was no visible engine, no heat signature, nothing the sensors could lock onto. The ship simply was hanging in space, daring anyone to question its existence. The alien ambassador on the station, a tall figure with blue-tinted skin and golden robes, stumbled backwards. That cannot be real. That's impossible. What species could build a ship that size and cloak it so completely? Hayes looked at his sensor tech. Any data? The technician shook her head, sweat beading on her brow. The computers can't get a reading. It's like the ship's not really here, but at the same time, it's right in front of us. The warship's appearance had not gone unnoticed. Messages began to flood the station's comms, warnings from freighters, alarm signals from patrols, desperate calls for help from smaller outposts. And then the station received a direct hail. The voice was calm and steady, without the slightest trace of fear. "This is the captain of the human warship Vanguard. Your sensors cannot understand what you are seeing. This ship is protected by a quantum lock. Nothing you know can touch." U.S. The room fell silent. The alien ambassador stepped forward, voice trembling. "You can't just appear here. This is neutral space. State your intentions." But the human captain simply replied, "We are here because we must be. Remain calm. No harm will come to you unless you make the first move." With that, the transmission cut. All around the station, alien ships scrambled to form a defensive line. Some were from the Empire, others from smaller, independent worlds. None of them trusted each other, but all recognized a new and terrifying threat. In the silence that followed, the Vanguard simply drifted closer, unhurried, untouched by the energy weapons now trained on its hull. Hayes stood frozen, thoughts racing. He had heard stories, rumors, really about human technology pushing the edge of science. But this? A ship that could defy physics. A warship that didn't even show up on half their scans? On the viewing deck, a junior officer whispered, "Should we call for help?" Hayes shook his head. From who? The Empire? The Trade Coalition? Who would take the first shot at a ship that might break the laws of the universe just by existing? Down in the maintenance bays, engineers stared at their monitors. They saw only static where the Vanguard should have been. Even the old sensors, built to detect the faintest neutrino leaks, were silent. The alien ambassador paced anxiously. "We must warn the Council. This is a threat to all of us. No one should have a weapon like that." Hayes watched the ship. Something about the calm way the human captain had spoken sent a chill through his bones. They weren't showing off. They weren't taunting anyone. They were simply stating a fact. "Nothing you have can hurt us." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, word spread like wildfire. Pirate captains argued in smoky dens, mercenary bands checked their contracts, and imperial admirals called emergency meetings. No one knew exactly what a quantum lock was, but everyone understood the message. The balance of power had just shifted, and not in their favor. On the rim station, a handful of brave pilots volunteered to launch patrol fighters, hoping to get a closer look at the vanguard. Hayes gave the order, but quietly told them not to engage, just observe. As the tiny fighters approached, the human ship didn't react. No shields flickered, no guns tracked them. The fighters circled, cameras rolling, trying to get a visual record. But every time they tried to focus, their sensors glitched, and the ship seemed to blur and fade, then reappear. Solid as a mountain. Inside the vanguard, the human crew watched calmly. Their faces were hidden behind mirrored visors, their uniforms simple but unadorned by medals or rank. Every person on the bridge moved with quiet purpose, as if they knew they were untouchable. One crew member turned to their captain. "The aliens are scared." The captain nodded. "They should be. But we are not here to start a war. We're here to end one." On the station, Hayes was already thinking ahead. If the human warship could appear out of nowhere, what else could it do? What did quantum lock really mean? Did it make them invulnerable, invisible? Or was it something even stranger? The alien ambassador, breathing heavily, demanded an emergency council meeting. If the humans can build a ship like this, then none of us are safe. We must unite, or we will fall one by one. But deep down, Hayes wasn't sure uniting would matter. Against a weapon that seemed to break the rules of nature itself, what could anyone do? Outside, the vanguard hovered silently, like a shadow waiting for the dawn. Every ship in the sector kept a respectful distance. Every sensor on every station tried and failed to measure the impossible. For now, the warship did nothing. It simply existed, proof that humans had crossed a line no one else dared to approach. But everyone in the galaxy knew this was only the beginning. Testing the impossible, the vanguard floated like a silent storm at the edge of Rim Border Station's sensor range. Rumors were already flying from one end of the station to the other. In the trading hall, merchants and travelers pressed there, faces against the glass, eager to glimpse the mysterious human ship. Commander Hayes watched the news feeds. All across the galaxy, leaders argued about what to do. Should they attack the human warship, try to make peace, or just watch and wait, hoping it would leave as suddenly as it arrived? On the Imperial warship Defiant, not far from the station, Admiral Pike was not the kind of leader who waited for answers. He believed in power, and he believed in action. Admiral Pike glared at the screen, jaw tight. "Are you telling me this ship just appeared out of nowhere?" "Yes, sir," replied his sensor officer. "No warning. No hyperspace wake. It's like it just stepped through a door." Pike clenched his fists. "And our scans?" "Nothing. Sir, no energy readings, no weapon locks, but it's there. Every visual camera shows it." Pike's lips curled. No one defies the Empire. Especially not humans. Charge the cannons. Prepare a warning shot. Inside the vanguard, the crew watched as dozens of alien ships started to form up around the Defiant. On the main display, targeting lines flickered across the hull. But the crew stayed calm, almost relaxed. "Will they fire?" asked a young officer. The captain's voice was quiet. "Yes, they have to, or they'll never sleep again." Aboard the Defiant, Admiral Pike stood tall as he gave the order. "Fire!" The station shook as the massive alien cannons unleashed their power. Beams of blue energy raced toward the vanguard, so bright they lit up the darkness like artificial suns. Everyone on the station held their breath, waiting for the impossible human ship to explode. But the beams simply vanished. Where energy should have struck metal, there was nothing. Not a single mark appeared on the ship's glassy hull. Not even a flicker. Commander Hayes stared in shock. He had seen powerful shields before, but this wasn't a shield. The energy just disappeared, as if the universe itself refused to let the vanguard be harmed. The comm channels erupted with angry voices. "That's not possible," shouted Admiral Pike, slamming his fist against the console. "No ship is invincible. Charge again." The Defiant fired a second volley. Then a third. Alien cruisers joined in, launching missiles and plasma bolts. Each shot met the same fate. The Vanguard didn't dodge or shield itself. Every weapon simply faded into nothingness before it touched the hull. On the bridge of the human warship, the crew monitored the attacks. One of the officers spoke up, voice even. "Should we respond?" The captain shook their head. "No, not yet. Let them see the truth for themselves." On the station, the alien ambassador was pale, hands shaking. This is a weapon. That breaks the rules. No civilization should have this power. If the humans can't be harmed, what stops them from taking anything they want?" Hayes said nothing. His mind raced through old human stories, legends of unstoppable forces and mythical shields. But this was no story. This was real, and everyone was watching. The standoff stretched on. On the station, some merchants packed their things, preparing to leave before things got worse. Some soldiers argued about whether to evacuate the civilians. No one wanted to be the first to panic, but fear was a growing shadow over everyone's face. Admiral Pike paced his bridge, furious. "Switch to gravity torpedoes. I don't care what it takes, tear that ship apart." The Defiant launched its deadliest weapon, a torpedo designed to twist the very laws of gravity, crushing even the strongest armor. The torpedo raced through space, and then, just meters from the Vanguard, it stopped, not exploded. Not destroyed. Just stopped, frozen in place. All over the galaxy, screens replayed the image. A weapon that could shatter moons halted as if held in an invisible hand. Suddenly, the Vanguard sent another transmission. This time, the captain's face appeared. On every display, a calm human face, impossible to read. "You have seen the quantum lock at work. It is not a shield. It is a fact. Nothing outside this ship can affect it. Please stop firing." On the station, Hayes felt a cold certainty. In the captain's words, the humans weren't bluffing, and they weren't boasting. They had created something new. Something that changed the rules for everyone. In the council chamber, the alien ambassador spoke urgently to every leader who would listen. "We must find out how the humans did this. If they control quantum reality, no alliance, no empire, no power can challenge them." But others were thinking the same thing. In the darker corners of the galaxy, spies and agents prepared to board the station, desperate for any scrap of human technology. Meanwhile, on the Vanguard, the crew worked quietly. Engineers ran checks on the quantum Cora device, humming softly in the ship's heart, surrounded by blue-white light. Scientists in clean suits monitored fields that no ordinary eye could see. "We're holding stable," reported the chief engineer. "No breaches, no anomalies." The captain nodded. "Good, we cannot show fear. The moment we do, every ship here will try to test us." Back on the station, Hayes gathered his senior officers. "We're in the middle of history," he told them. "This ship isn't just a weapon, it's a message. Humans have crossed a line, and everyone else is scared." One officer asked quietly, "Should we try to make contact? Maybe ask for help?" Hayes considered. "If we can talk to them, maybe we'll understand what's coming next." But before he could act, a new alarm sounded. The Defiant was not done fighting. "Admiral Pike is sending boarding shuttles." The sensor tech cried on the screens. Dozens of small ships raced toward the Vanguard, filled with Imperial Marines. The Marines wore the best armor in the galaxy, armed with weapons designed to break any defense. The Rim Station's population watched in stunned silence as the shuttles approached. The air around the Vanguard shimmered. The Marines jumped from their crafts, magnetic boots clinging to the hull. But before any could touch the surface, they froze stuck in place, unable to move. Inside their helmets, they shouted in confusion. Their weapons malfunctioned, their armor seized up, and their comms filled with static. It was as if the rules of physics had turned against them. The Vanguard sent a final warning: do not attempt to board. You are safe, but only if you leave. This is your last warning. The shuttles reversed course, dragging the immobilized Marines away. One by one, they floated back toward their own ship. On the rim station, every eye was wide with fear. It was now clear. The quantum-locked human warship could not be attacked. It could not be boarded. It could not be harmed. And in the silent space between the stars, a new chapter of galactic history was being written, one where humanity held the pen. Secrets and sabotage the galaxy could not ignore the Vanguard. News of the quantum-locked human warship raced through every channel, every world, every secret network. Some called it a legend. Others, a threat so great that no government could sleep. Everyone wanted to know, how did the humans do it? On Rim Border Station, fear turned to curiosity. Whispers moved through the crowd's rumors of impossible engines, hidden weapons, and technology centuries ahead of anything known. But not everyone was afraid. Some saw opportunity. In a shadowed corner of the station, a group met in secret. They were not soldiers or diplomats, but spies sent by the Trade Coalition, the Empire, and even distant independent planets. Each wore plain clothes and spoke quietly, but their eyes were sharp and cold. "We must get aboard that ship," said one, his accent thick, his voice low. "A sample. A schematic. Anything. If humans control quantum reality, the rest of us are finished." Another spy shook her head. "They're not letting anyone close. Did you see what happened to those Marines?" The first man smiled. "That's why we're not using force. We use the station. We use people who can get close, cleaners, cargo handlers, maybe even a lost child." Meanwhile, in the main control room, Commander Hayes watched reports pile up. The Vanguard remained motionless. No supplies requested. No signals sent except those brief, calm messages. His second-in-command, Chief Officer Dana, joined him at the window. "Everyone's scared. The Council is arguing. Some want to attack again. Some want to beg the humans for an alliance." Hayes nodded. "And all the while, no one is asking the most important question." Dana looked curious. "Which is, what do the humans want?" As if in answer, the comm panel blinked. Another message from the Vanguard. This time it was short and simple. "We request a meeting. Send a representative. No weapons." Hayes looked at Dana, then at the ambassador, who had just entered, shaking with nerves. "We'll go together," Hayes said, "and we'll follow their rules." As Hayes, Dana, and the ambassador prepared for the meeting, the spies went to work. They bribed a station technician, a nervous, thin young man named Mark, to plant a device near the docking bay. It was a harmless-looking box, but inside was a quantum probe, designed to sniff out the smallest trace of human technology. Mark hesitated as he held the device. "What if they catch me?" The first spy put a hand on his shoulder. "They won't. Just get close to their airlock. Leave the box. We'll handle the rest." Mark nodded, tucking the probe into his maintenance vest. The docking tunnel between the station and the Vanguard was eerily quiet. Hayes, Dana, and the ambassador walked slowly, hearts pounding. The warship's door opened with a hiss. Inside, white light spilled onto the metal floor. 3 human officers waited. Their faces were unreadable, their uniforms perfectly simple. None carried weapons. But somehow, Hayes felt more nervous than if he'd been facing a firing squad. "Welcome," said the human captain, voice steady and polite. "You may enter. Please, no sudden movements." They stepped into the ship. The walls shimmered with strange patterns. There were no visible controls, no screens, just smooth surfaces and soft, glowing lines. The captain led them to a round chamber. "We wish to talk, not threaten. But you must understand our ship is not like yours. Everything here is controlled by the quantum core. Please, do not try to touch anything." The ambassador swallowed. We are honored to meet you. But the council needs to know, why have you come here, and why show us such power? The captain's gaze was calm. "We came to warn you. There is a danger growing in this galaxy. A weapon that breaks more than just the laws of physics. If we did not act, millions would die." Hayes leaned forward. "What weapon?" The captain shook his head. "We cannot say yet, but you will see soon. For now, know this. The quantum lock protects us, but it is not meant to conquer. We use it because the galaxy is changing and old rules are dying." While the meeting continued, Mark crept along the outside of the Vanguard, pretending to check a power relay. Sweat ran down his face. He slipped the probe near a vent, just as the spies had told him. As he stepped back, a strange tingling ran through his arm. The device's lights flickered, then flashed red. Mark froze. He tried to step away, but found he couldn't move. The ship itself seemed to hold him in place, gentle but unbreakable. An automated voice spoke from a hidden speaker. "Unauthorized. Device detected. Please explain." Mark's mouth went dry. It's just a sensor for the station's air." But the voice was not fooled. "Unauthorized technology. Step away." Mark's legs trembled. Suddenly, he could move again, but the device was gone, pulled into the wall by invisible hands. Inside the chamber, the captain paused. "We must show you something." He pressed a hand to the table. A hologram appeared, millions of tiny lights moving across a 3D map of the galaxy. In one corner, a swirling mass of red lights pulsed dangerously. "This is the threat," said the captain. "It is not human. It is not alien. It is something else, a force that consumes everything." Dana asked, "Why tell us?" "Because you have a choice," the captain said. "Stand together or be destroyed alone. The Vanguard is a shield, not a sword. But the shield only matters if others will fight beside us." The ambassador's voice shook. "If you're telling the truth, then the council must act." The captain nodded. "We will wait. But be careful. There are those already moving in the shadows who would destroy us from within before the real danger even arrives." Hayes caught the warning in the captain's voice. He wondered who was truly the bigger threat, the force coming from the dark, or the spies and traitors already inside the station. Outside, Mark staggered back to the spies, pale as a ghost. "They knew. They caught me. The device is gone." The first spy cursed under his breath. "We try again, with someone else. If humans can lock out every threat, we'll never stand a chance. We must know their secret." But the longer the Vanguard stayed, the more the galaxy watched, and the greater the danger grew, not just from the unknown enemy, but from those who would risk everything to steal human power for themselves. And in the heart of the Vanguard, the quantum core pulsed quietly. The future was changing, moment by moment. The war for the galaxy's soul was about to begin. Shadows in the void, the meeting between the humans and the station's leaders, left the galaxy shaken. The image of the swirling red danger on the hologram map played again and again on every news feed. Some believed it was real. Others said it was just human trickery to scare the council. But one thing was certain. Every major power now wanted the secret of the quantum lock, no matter the cost. On Rim Border Station, the spies grew bolder. The first failed attempt had not stopped them. Instead, they began searching for others to do their dirty workstation, workers who needed money, smugglers who could slip through security, and even scientists who dreamed of glory. In the station's maintenance tunnels, two spies met a young engineer named Tom. He was honest, but poor. His mother was sick, and his debts were growing. "You can help your family," whispered the first spy. "Just bring us a sample from the human ship. A piece of wiring, a scan of their engine, anything." Tom shook his head nervously. "If they catch me, they won't," promised the second spy. "You're just a cleaner. No one will notice you. And you'll be paid more than you can imagine." Tom hesitated, but the worry in his eyes told the spies he was desperate. Meanwhile, the Vanguard remained silent, floating like a fortress of secrets. Its crew watched the chaos below through hidden cameras and sensors. Every movement on the station recorded and analyzed. Inside the ship, the captain met with the science officer. "How long until the council decides?" asked the captain. "Hard to say. The council is split. Some want to ally with us, others want to drive us out or steal what we have." The captain nodded. "Prepare for anything. The enemy out there isn't waiting." Back in the maintenance bay, Tom pulled on his tool belt and moved toward the docking tube. Sweat dripped down his face as he remembered what the spies had promised. He was scared, but also hopeful. Maybe with the money, he could save his mother. He entered the docking tube, passing through security with a forged ID the spies had given him. He tried not to look at the guards or the cameras. As he stepped inside the Vanguard's airlock, his heart hammered in his chest. Suddenly, a voice echoed from hidden speakers. "State your business." Tom swallowed hard. "I'm here to check the power relay. There was a maintenance call." The door slid open. Tom stepped into the ship, blinking at the soft white light. He walked past smooth walls and strange glowing panels, careful not to touch anything. A crew member watched him quietly. "You are being monitored. Do your job and leave." Tom nodded, trying to calm his shaking hands. He moved to the relay, pulled out his scanner, and pretended to run tests. All the while, his eyes searched for something he could steal or scan for the spies. Suddenly, his scanner beeped a reading so strange it froze him in place. The numbers danced across the screen, impossible to understand. He aimed the scanner at the wall, trying to get a sample. At that moment, the lights flickered. The relay panel slid open by itself. A glowing crystal hovered inside, spinning slowly in the air. Tom stared, wide-eyed. He'd never seen anything like it. His hands shook as he lifted his scanner toward the crystal. "Do not touch that," said the crew member's voice, calm but deadly serious. Tom froze. He knew he was caught. The crew member stepped closer. "We know what you are doing. Your scanner will not work on our technology. If you try to take anything, the ship will respond." Tom dropped the scanner and put his hands in the air. "I'm sorry. Please, I just needed the money." The crew member's eyes softened. "Desperation leads to bad choices. But we are not your enemy." The wall closed and the crystal disappeared. "You must leave now," the crew member said. "Tell those who sent you that this ship cannot be stolen. And if you ever return like this again, you will not be allowed to leave." Tom fled the ship, heart pounding. He didn't look back. On the other side of the station, the spies watched as Tom returned, empty-handed and pale. "What happened?" The first spy demanded. "They caught me. The ship, it knows everything." "You can't fool it," Tom whispered, then hurried away. Wanting nothing more to do with the plot, the spies cursed their luck and retreated into the shadows. But now they were even more desperate. If the quantum lock couldn't be broken by sneaking or stealing, maybe it could be broken by force. Far above the station, beyond the traffic lanes and satellites, something else moved in the darkness. It was the same swirling red energy the human captain had shown in the hologram, a storm of strange, hungry light, sliding through the void, devouring everything in its path. On a mining colony at the edge of the sector, the workers didn't see it coming. The sky turned crimson and their machines began to fail. Gravity twisted and matter crumbled as if erased. By the time anyone noticed, the colony was gone, swallowed up. erased from every record. The council got the report just as their meeting began. "Another colony has vanished," said the ambassador, voice shaky. "Is this the threat the humans warned us about?" Panic swept through the chamber. Some shouted to attack the vanguard and force the humans to give up their secrets. Others pleaded for an alliance before it was too late. On the vanguard, the captain watched the news grimly. "It started," the captain said to the crew. "The real enemy is here." Hayes, watching from the station, knew the galaxy was at a crossroads. Trust the humans or fight them, and face the darkness alone. In the coming hours, ships across the sector armed themselves. Factions called for war, for peace, for desperate plans. All eyes turned to the Vanguard, the only ship untouched by fear, physics, or the storm now spreading across the stars. But the spies, driven by greed and terror, prepared their most dangerous plan yet. If they couldn't steal the quantum lock, maybe they could destroy the Vanguard itself. And in the darkness, beyond the rim, the unknown threat grew stronger, hungrier, and closer every hour. Sabotage and sacrifice. The tension aboard Rim Border Station was so thick, it seemed to press down on every soul. Ships crowded the docking ports, ready to run or fight. News about the vanishing mining colony spread like wildfire, and rumors filled the air, rumors of an unstoppable enemy, of humans who could break reality, and of a war no one could win. On the shadowed lower decks, the spies gathered for one last meeting. The first spy, a hard-faced man named Grant, slammed his fist on the table. "Enough failures. We have one chance left. If we can't steal the quantum lock, we'll destroy the Vanguard before the humans use it against us." "But how?" whispered another spy. "Weapons don't work. Force fields stop everything. The ship is invincible." Grant smiled, cold and grim. "Maybe from the outside. But every machine, no matter how perfect, can be broken from within." He laid out a simple device on the table, a dull black box. "Small enough to fit in a hand. This is a graviton disruptor. It can tear a hole in the fabric of any ship, even one with a quantum lock. We only need to get it inside." The youngest spy, nervous and pale, spoke up. "Who will plant it?" Grant looked at the others, then at himself. "I will." Up on the Vanguard, the captain watched the growing panic in the sector. The council still argued, some shouting for unity, others for war. The red storm in deep space was moving closer now, devouring planets, leaving nothing behind. The science officer showed new images of the threat. Whole star systems vanishing without a trace. "If it keeps spreading, it will reach us within days," she said softly. The captain nodded. "And the only hope is that the others will listen before it's too late." A message flashed on the screen. "Sabotage attempt detected. Docking Bay 3. The captain's eyes narrowed. "Seal the bay. Prepare security. Do not harm the intruder yet." Grant moved through the station's crowded halls, clutching the disruptor in his pocket. His heart pounded, but his face was calm. He wore a stolen maintenance uniform, blending in with the workers. Security was tight, but the chaos worked in his favor. Guards focused on the angry crowds and worried captains. When he reached Docking Bay 3, he swiped his fake ID and stepped through the doors. The bay was empty. The Vanguard's hull gleamed just beyond the force field, silent and beautiful as ever. Grant moved to the airlock, his hands sweating. He set the disruptor's timer for 5 minutes, but as he stepped forward, the lights changed from white to deep blue. A gentle hum filled the air. Then, without warning, a force caught him soft but strong and lifted him off his feet. He struggled, but invisible hands pulled him toward the airlock. The doors slid open, and Grant floated inside the Vanguard. He landed on the smooth floor, unable to move. The captain and 2 crew members stood before him. Their eyes were sad, not angry. "We know what you carry," the captain said quietly. "Put it down." Grant tried to resist, but his arm moved on its own. He placed the disruptor on the floor. The crew picked it up with a tool, sealing it in a clear box. "Why are you doing this?" the captain asked. "Do you truly think destroying US will save you?" Grant spat. "You humans are the real threat. You've made yourselves gods. No one is safe." The captain shook their head. "We are not gods. We are scared just like you. The enemy is out there, growing stronger every moment. If you destroy the only shield this galaxy has, who will stop it?" Grant fell silent, his anger cooling into fear. On the station, "Commander." Hayes received a message from the Vanguard. Sabotage attempt stopped. "No harm done. Security will return the intruder." Hayes sighed with relief, but also shame. The spies were supposed to be his allies, yet now, their fear was as dangerous as the unknown threat itself. He gathered the council, and for the first time, the voices fell quiet. "The sabotage failed," Hayes said. "But there may not be a second chance. The enemy out there is real. You all saw what happened to the colony. We can keep fighting among ourselves, or we can stand together." The ambassador, shaken and pale, spoke up. "We cannot beat this storm alone. The humans came here to warn us. Maybe it's time we listened." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then slowly, the other leaders nodded back on the Vanguard. The crew prepared for battle, not against spies or angry fleets, but against the coming storm. The science officer checked the quantum core. "It's stable. The lock is holding. But if the storm touches us, we don't know what will happen." The captain stared at the map, watching the red danger move closer. "We'll hold the line as long as we can. And if the council decides to stand with us, maybe, just maybe, we can survive." Outside, ships began to form up, not to attack, but to defend. Old enemies called ceasefires. Small cargo ships, big cruisers, patrol fighters all gathered near the Vanguard, hoping the quantum lock might protect them. In the darkest corner of the station, Grant was led away by security, his eyes empty. He had failed. But the galaxy might have one last chance if everyone stood together. As the first flashes of red appeared in the distance, alarms blared across the sector. Hayes stood at the viewing window, watching as the fleet formed a shield around the human warship. He whispered, "This is it. The future starts now." The quantum-locked warship glowed with silent power. For the first time, it was not alone. But as the storm drew closer, everyone wondered, would even the impossible be enough? The storm breaks the sky above Rim Border Station was now a swirling sea of red and black. The unknown storm, a wave of consuming energy, moved through space with hunger and speed. Worlds blinked out behind it, erased as if they had never existed. The bridge of the Vanguard, the crew worked in tense silence. The quantum core pulsed, sending shimmering waves through the hull. Every system ran at full power. The captain stood in the center, eyes fixed on the growing threat. "All ships report ready," said the comms officer. "Defensive grid holding. Everyone's in position." Commander Hayes sent a final message from the station. "We're with you, Vanguard. Whatever happens, you're not alone." The captain nodded, calm but serious. "Hold your course, Commander. If the lock fails, get as many people away as you can." On the outer edges of the fleet, the first wave of the storm struck. Tiny patrol ships, caught on the edge, vanished in a flash of red. Larger cruisers fired their strongest weapons, but nothing touched the storm. It twisted reality, turning energy to dust, metal to nothing, hope to fear. The ambassador watched from the council chamber, his hands shaking. "Is there nothing that can stop it?" The science officer on the Vanguard replied, "We're about to find out." The storm surged forward, crashing against the line of ships. Shields popped like soap bubbles. Hulls buckled and vanished. Panic spread through the fleet until at last the wave struck the Vanguard. But instead of being erased, the Vanguard stood firm. The storm split around it, flowing like water onto stone. The quantum lock flared bright blue, a shield deeper than any armor, older than any trick. Inside, alarms blared, but the ship held steady. Crew members watched readings climb to impossible levels. The science officer called out, "Quantum fields. Stable. Hull integrity at 100%. The lock is holding." Outside, the rest of the fleet saw the miracle. Ships moved closer to the Vanguard, crowding around its glowing hull. The storm raged, but for those in the shadow of the human ship, there was safety at least for now. But the captain knew this could not last forever. In the council chamber, leaders argued and shouted. Some wanted to retreat, others wanted to hide behind the Vanguard forever. But Hayes raised his hand for silence. "If we run, the storm will just keep coming," Hayes said. "If we hide, it'll swallow us all, sooner or later. The Vanguard can't hold forever. We need a real plan." The ambassador looked to the captain, who appeared on the main screen. "What do we do?" The captain's voice was calm but heavy. "The quantum lock protects us, but the storm is growing stronger. We believe its source is somewhere deep inside the anomaly. If we can reach the heart, we may be able to shut it down." Hayes asked, "And if you fail?" The captain smiled, just a little. "Then at least we tried. But we need your help. If your ships can distract the storm, we might be able to punch through to the center." The ambassador nodded. "We will try." As the storm pressed in, ships from dozens of worlds moved in formation, acting as bait and shield. They drew the storm's energy, buying time for the Vanguard. The human warship turned its prow into the storm. Engines flared, pushing against the red tide. The quantum core's glow intensified, lighting up the darkness. The first part of the fleet was lost, ships erased, crews gone in a blink. But each second they bought allowed the Vanguard to move deeper into the storm. Inside, the crew worked together, sweat on their brows, hands flying over strange controls. "We're almost through the outer edge," the science officer said. "But the core's energy is spiking. We can't hold much longer." The captain stared at the main screen, where a swirling vortex waited, the heart of the storm. "Prepare the quantum lance." The crew hesitated. No one had ever fired the lance before. No one knew if it would work. "On my mark," the captain said. In the council chamber, silence fell. Everyone watched as the Vanguard pushed into the red eye of the storm. Commander Hayes whispered, "Good luck." The Vanguard fired the quantum lance. A spear of blue-white light cut through the storm, striking the heart. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soundless roar, the storm recoiled. Waves of energy crashed outward, shaking the ship, sending the fleet tumbling. Inside the Vanguard, alarms wailed. "Core overloading," shouted the engineer. "We can't take much more." The captain clenched their fists. "Hold on, just a few more seconds." The quantum lock flickered, then shone brighter than ever. The lance drilled deeper into the Kauzin storm's heart. At last, with a final burst of light, the red energy collapsed inward. The storm screamed, shrinking, twisting, then vanished in a flash. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the comms officer whispered, "It's gone. The storm is gone." On every ship, cheers erupted. On the station, people wept with relief. The impossible had happened. The Vanguard had survived and saved them all. But inside the warship, the crew saw the cost. The quantum core was damaged. The hull cracked, the systems barely holding together. The captain sat down, exhausted. "We did it," they said softly. "But we're not gods. We're just human." On Rim Border Station, Hayes looked out at the battered fleet and the fading blue glow of the Vanguard. He knew the galaxy would never be the same. Enemies had stood side by side. New heroes had risen. The quantum-locked warship had proven that hope could survive even when physics and fear said it was impossible. But as repairs began and lost worlds were mourned, everyone knew the future would bring new threats and new choices. And for now, the galaxy was at peace, thanks to the ship. That defied everything. The legacy of the impossible, the storm, was gone. Across the galaxy, people stared up at the stars, blinking back tears. Some worlds had been lost, but most had survived because of the Vanguard. The quantum-locked human warship, once a source of fear, was now a symbol of hope. On Rim Border Station, everyone cheered as the battered Vanguard returned. Small ships saluted with flashing lights. Messages of thanks arrived from 100 different species. In the docking bay, even old enemies stood side by side, their old grudges forgotten for now. Commander Hayes watched as the station's engineers helped the Vanguard crew repair their damaged ship. The quantum core was cracked, and pieces of the hull still glowed with the strange blue light from the battle. But the ship still stood, proof that some things could survive even the end of the universe. The captain stepped off the ramp and was met by Hayes, Dana, the ambassador, and a crowd of onlookers. There were no speeches, just a quiet handshake, a nod, and silent respect. The ambassador broke the silence. You could have run. You could have saved only yourselves. But you fought for all of us. The captain gave a tired smile. We didn't build this ship to be alone. Humanity has learned, sometimes the hard way, that the galaxy is bigger than any one world. Hayes looked at the others. The storm taught us something. We're stronger together. If old enemies can fight side by side, maybe we can build something better than what we had before. Around them, crews from every species worked to repair damaged ships, share supplies, and trade stories. A strange kind of friendship grew in. The aftermath of disaster. Back on the Vanguard, the science officer reported on the quantum core. We'll need time to repair it fully. The storm left scars, but we can recover. The captain nodded. We did what was needed. That's all anyone can ask. Down in the crowded mess hall, humans and aliens shared food and laughter. The old barriers were gone, at least for a while. Even the spies who once tried to sabotage the Vanguard were there now, helping with repairs. Shamed by what they'd done, but grateful to be alive. Tom, the young engineer who once tried to steal from the ship, was now working side by side with human technicians. He smiled, realizing that sometimes hope comes from the most unlikely places. Word of the Vanguard's victory spread across the stars. On distant worlds, children played with toy ships shaped like the quantum-locked warship. Artists painted murals of the battle against the Red Storm. Poets wrote songs about the day when everyone in the galaxy stood together and won. For the first time in living memory, the great empires and small worlds called for a true council, one where all voices were equal. Laws were written to help each other, not just to protect the strong. The ambassador stood before the new council, speaking with hope. We saw what can happen when fear rules us. But we also saw what is possible when we stand together. Let us build a peace that lasts, not because we are afraid, but because we have learned. No one cheered. No one needed to. The words spoke for themselves. Commander Hayes sent one last message to the Vanguard. You showed us that the impossible is just a challenge. Thank you for everything. The captain answered, it was never just about the ship. The future belongs to those who believe, even when the whole universe tells them it can't be done. The Vanguard stayed near Rim Border Station for many weeks, helping to rebuild and sharing what knowledge they could. But eventually, the quantum core was repaired, and it was time for the ship to move on. At the farewell, ships from every species gathered to watch the Vanguard depart. Hayes, Dana, the ambassador, and all their friends stood at the viewing window as the quantum-locked warship powered up its engines. With a final blue shimmer, the Vanguard vanished into the stars, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. And so the legend grew. Some would say it was only possible because of the quantum lock, the unbreakable ship, or the impossible technology. But those who had been there knew better. They remembered the bravery, the trust, and the choice to fight for more than just themselves. Because in the end, the greatest power in the galaxy was not the technology, not the ship, not even the humans. It was the courage to stand together. When all hope seemed lost, and somewhere, out in the endless night, the vanguard sailed on ready to answer the next impossible call, the end.